This is Ancoats, an area of Manchester that has recently welcomed a proliferation in pubs, restaurants, cafes and bars. However, from midnight on Thursday the 22nd of October, the way the public can interact with these venues will change, providing they're still open. This comes after a 10-day dispute between Greater Manchester leaders and the government collapsed on Tuesday on account of what local authorities here believe is a lacklustre unemployment support package. The government had been eager to expedite the imposition of these rules, but were curtailed by complaints from local authorities led by Labour Mayor Andy Burnham. In the end, the government forced the Tier 3 restrictions onto the region, sending the viability of hundreds of jobs into disrepute and spelling a harsh winter for the hospitality sector.
COVID-19 patients in Greater Manchester hospitals than in the whole of the South West and South East combined. As a result, we need to take further action to protect lives and livelihoods in Greater Manchester. So, informed by this data, we've made the difficult decision to place Greater Manchester into the very high local COVID alert level, coming into force at 1 minute past midnight on Friday.
Local leaders here question the scientific veracity of these new interventions and compare them to those we saw thrusted on communities in July, with very little reason and almost no warning. This is Erst, a restaurant and wine bar in Ancoats, whose staff have experienced the results of ham-fisted government decisions before.
So normally after Boris announces a restriction, bookings dip for 2 weeks, and then after that 2 weeks they start coming back up. So we'll wait for 2 weeks, see how it is, and then assess from there. We're very close to our kind of bottom line after this week, if it carries on how it's looking. So we can only sustain like 3 weeks of that, and then we'll just have to carry on as close until restrictions are lifted or there's more confidence in people coming out, basically.
But to some operators, the prospect of Tier 3 was perversely welcome. Prior to the announcement, late-night party bar Crazy Pedro's had already seen a fatal blow dealt to its business by the 10 p.m. curfew.
The effects have been so acute that in a recent conversation with the Financial Times, owner of Crazy Pedro's, Ross McKenzie, found himself in the bizarre position of welcoming the possible Tier 3 lockdowns, going on to say that business-wise, I'm hoping we do go into Tier 3 in Manchester. We cannot make any money with this 10 p.m. curfew. This of course raises the question of, if the hospitality sector had already been under so much pressure, why has it been targeted even further by the government?
The government believe that tighter restrictions on hospitality will dampen transmission, but this doesn't wash when we look at Public Health England data from the week the tier plans were released. Nationally, hospitality venues facilitated just 3% of known transmission, whereas the return to the workplace and the reopening of universities and schools was responsible for 59% collectively. This has led many in the industry to feel as though they've been mistargeted by these new interventions, like those at Arcane, a subterranean drinking den that, upon my visit, was about 8 hours away from closing, with no idea when it would open again.
People just think alcohol's the culprit, don't they? That's why they're still letting people, restaurants stay open, and anybody that's eating a substantial meal are being able to stay open. So people think that if you're just having a drink, you behave badly, you mix. Of course, some people do. Of course they do. But they also do it in the comfort of their own home as well. They don't. Technically, when you come to a bar, we have to tell you off if you do anything wrong. So you're not allowed to mix in our establishment.
As part of an industry in a region that feels as though it's done all it can to align itself with the government's requests, many here now feel as if it's just all been in vain.
It feels like that again. It feels like we're back to square one.